Today, we're going to dive into the pretty counterintuitive world of economics. We're using the book Economic Facts and Fallacies as our guide to challenge some really powerful, widely held beliefs about how the world actually works.
So let's just start with this one big question. What if the ideas you hear every single day about housing costs, about trade, about public health, what if they're built on some seriously shaky ground? What if they're not facts at all, but fallacies?
So, what even is an economic fallacy? Well, the source defines it as a belief that sounds totally plausible, but when you really look at it, it just falls apart. And here's the key. They often lean on these powerful, emotional, but totally undefined words. Think about fairness. I mean, who's against fairness, right? But because no one really agrees on what it means, you can get a lot of people to support a policy without them ever having to agree on the details. It's a huge political advantage, but a massive intellectual handicap.
So here's our game plan. We're going to tackle 3 huge fallacies, one in housing, one about wealth, and one that even touches on public health. And then we're going to dig into maybe the most interesting question of all. If these ideas are so wrong, why did they stick around?
All right, first up, the housing puzzle. We hear the term affordable housing constantly. But what if the reason it's so unaffordable has been completely misdiagnosed? The story you usually hear is that we just need more government programs, more subsidies to make housing affordable. But the source material we're looking at, it offers a totally different take. It argues that the real problem isn't a lack of programs, but a whole lot of restrictions, government policies that just make it incredibly expensive and difficult to build new homes in the first place.
And I mean, the real-world impact is just staggering. Take Houston, a city with very few building restrictions. A typical middle-class home there is about $152,000. Now look at San Francisco, which is famous for its restrictions. That same type of home, over $1 million. The source makes it clear. This isn't just about how much people earn. It's about the barriers to actually building. When you make it hard to build, prices just go through the roof.
Okay, let's switch gears to our second fallacy. This one shapes how a ton of people think about wealth and trade. Is the economy basically a fixed pie, where if one person gets more, another person has to get less? This is called the zero-sum fallacy. It's this gut feeling that the economy is just a big fight over a limited amount of stuff. If someone gets a bigger slice of the pie, well, that must mean your slice just got smaller. And you know what? This one idea has driven economic policy in countries all over the world for a long, long time. But the source argues this is just fundamentally wrong. The reality is, voluntary trade isn't about dividing up a pie, it's about baking a bigger one. When people or countries trade freely, they both walk away better off. Wealth isn't just being moved around. New wealth is actually being created. And you can see the results for yourself. The source points to countries that were once incredibly poor, like China, India, and South Korea. What happened after they opened up their economies to free trade? Their economies just exploded, lifting tens of millions of people out of poverty. They didn't just re-slice the old pie, they baked a much, much bigger one for everyone.
Now for our third fallacy. And this one, it goes way beyond just economics. It's a fundamental error in logic that can have literal life and death consequences. It's the trap of mixing up timing with causation.
There's an old Latin name for it, post hoc ergo propter hoc. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but all it means is after this, therefore because of this. Just because event B happened after event A doesn't automatically mean that A caused B. It's a trap our brains fall into all the time. Let's look at a really powerful example from the source. Okay, step 1. The insecticide DDT is used all over the world to kill mosquitoes that carry malaria. Step 2. In the years that follow, cancer rates start to go up. So the simple, easy conclusion is DDT must cause cancer, right? This was a major argument in the push to have it banned. But here's the twist. The source makes a crucial point. DDT didn't cause cancer, it caused survival. By wiping out malaria, DDT saved millions of people who otherwise would have died young. And what happens when people live into old age? Well, their risk of getting diseases like cancer naturally goes up. The rise in cancer rates wasn't caused by the chemical. It was caused by the simple fact that more people were living long enough to get it. It was a truly tragic misunderstanding of correlation and cause. So this brings us to our final and maybe most important piece of this whole puzzle. If these ideas are factually wrong and lead to such terrible results, why on earth do they persist? Well, the source argues that fallacies stick around because admitting you are wrong carries a huge cost. For a politician, it could literally end your career. For an expert or an academic, it means public embarrassment and losing your reputation.
And for an advocate, it's just incredibly painful to face the fact that a policy you fought for actually hurt the people you were trying to help. So the conclusion from the source is pretty stark. For some people, the hard evidence is just too dangerous to face.
And look, this isn't just some intellectual exercise. This quote from the source really drives home how high the stakes are. The zero-sum fallacy alone, it argues, kept millions of people stuck in poverty for generations completely needlessly. These are not harmless little mistakes. They have massive, real-world consequences.
So if there's one big takeaway from all this, it's that ideas that sound really good on the surface can be deeply flawed and cause incredible damage. The challenge, then, isn't just spotting these fallacies out there in the world, but being willing to look for them in our own thinking. And that leaves us with one final thought. What widely held belief will you question next?